March 16th. The streets are crowded. It's a podcast. It's a podcast about the Batman.
Yeah.
You see what I did there?
Yeah, it was good. I thought you were doing Star Trek for a second.
It sounds like that.
Yeah,
Started
yeah.
428. Yeah, Captain's log.
Yeah, wanted to see where you were going, but I think it just ran out. I think your lack of preparation.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah,
you think?
it kind of shown.
That's the story of my life. Yeah. All these nights have turned me into a nocturnal animal. Guess what, everybody? Welcome to the Fundamentalists. We're going to be doing a brand new episode on the Batman. Now, you might be thinking, gosh, they've talked about Batman before, but we haven't done it after having seen the Batman, so it's a new one about that. And Pete saw it. I've seen it. This is going to be a spoiler-filled episode. If you haven't seen it, if you want to see it, this may not be the episode for you. We're going to speak freely about what happens in the film. Most people have seen it by now. If you haven't, it's still enjoyable. Plot aside, if something gets spoiled, it's a beautiful movie. I recommend it regardless. So let's dive into it. But first, Pete, how you doing?
Doing good, man. Doing good. It's been a bit of a boring week. You, however, were in Vegas.
I was in Vegas, baby. I tell you, man, every time I think I'm over it, that's an immature thing. Why would you want to go to Vegas?
Yeah.
Like, come on. It's dirty. It's gross. And then as the plane was landing, I felt the spirit of Vegas overtake me, and it was like I just couldn't stop smiling as I got off the plane. I was like, here we go. And the moment I get off the plane, there's a woman with 2 kids cussing out somebody on the phone. All the bars are packed. Everyone's leaving on like a Thursday, or maybe it was a Friday. It was pure Vegas. You know, if you've never been in the Vegas airport, which is now the Harry Reid Airport, it's not McLaren anymore. There's slot machines everywhere in the waiting areas, and it just was like, welcome to Stupidville, and it's
Your
my favorite
home.
thing, my
Your
home,
home,
baby.
yeah.
And spent all the time on the Strip, mostly in the same place called Resorts World, which was lovely, and bet a little bit of money for you.
You did, and the Red Snake won.
Red Snake did win, and you could have walked away with.
Well, you
more
kind of
money.
screwed up. You like so basically.
How did I screw up?
Well, okay, right. What I said to you was 2 bets, $40 each. I gave you the Red Snake, whatever. You did one, and I won it. And then you said you still want me to do the second one. And while you were asking me, that second one would have won me money, because I was playing self-harm roulette, and I said, would I have won if I'd bet? And you were like, yes, you would have.
There was actually, and I hate to dive so much into this. I know all we do is argue, but there was, if I had gone straight from you winning to another one, you would have lost as well.
Oh, okay.
It's almost like it's random.
Yeah, it almost seems like it. Well, yeah, no, I was very pleased, and you were honest. You didn't just tell me I'd lost and then just pocket my money.
Yeah.
Which is very nice of you. Unless did I win more than you said?
I'm just happy that you got something and you feel good about it. No, you did. And I don't know how that would have gone had I lost everything and I was only. But you know how it goes. You Venmo me, and then I'll just use what I have, and then I have the Venmo. But it's not like. Fortunately, I still had. I did okay in Vegas, and so I had the ability to.
But you were playing
carry out your will.
You're playing the game you have the most skill on, which is the horse racing one.
Yes, the horse racing. My God, dude, I gotta tell you, it is. Have we done it in Vegas?
No, see, right, they have a version of that in the Las Vegas of Northern Ireland. It's called Barry's, and it's a big step down. And they have one of those machines in there, and it is just basically the little plastic horses running around randomly. Yeah, I would never have thought that was the game that would have grabbed you.
Well, first of all, it's so stupid, and it's amazing how you can start caring about a little toy horse. And it's always empty because no one knows how to play it, even though it's the simplest thing in the world. And it's exciting to watch miniature horses race around a track.
Yeah.
And it's easy. And you can also bet a quarter.
Yeah.
Which is my speed.
Yeah.
Even though I tend to go, and you get really, and then you can play piano like roulette.
The piano. Oh, yeah, the roulette piano. That's always a good one.
It's very nice. But anyway, it was a great time. What have you done this weekend?
What have I done? Not a lot. I can't think if I've done anything.
I know, man. It's that time of week. It's Wednesday, March 16th. And you hear they're making daylight savings time maybe permanent.
Oh, I saw that on some news feed this morning. Yeah.
How do you feel about that?
Well, it makes sense they can do it now, because in the past it would have been such a huge thing to change, but now everything's, all clocks are electronic, and so it probably doesn't take too much effort to change it.
Yeah, I guess they're gonna wait till 2023 to help to let the airlines and stuff figure their systems out. Which I'm like, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thanks.
But like going back a while, it would have been so hard, I think, probably to have made that kind of change. But easier now. Yeah,
I hope so. Anyway, I think it's very exciting. Let us know what you think in the comments. what did you think? I just completely go unpresent. Tell us what you guys think. What did you think of the Batman, Pete? We haven't seen it together.
No, yeah. Okay, yeah, so just brief kind of before we get into the nuts and bolts is I enjoyed it. 3 hours, didn't feel like 3 hours. I loved the feel of it, the visual of it. What we'll be talking about is kind of the ideas, and I'm excited about talking about some of the ideas, but just in general as a Batman, I like the very gritty. I mean, I saw, was it you posted a meme up about how kind of like, something like 1990, there's a darker, grittier Batman.
Best Batman meme.
2000, darker, grittier. Yeah.
It's because it's a Watchmen meme of whatever the blue guy is on the planet by himself. It's 1989. I'm 8 years old. I'm watching a darker, grittier Batman. It's 2005. I'm 22 years old. I'm watching a darker, grittier Batman. It's 2022. I'm 40 years old. I'm watching a darker, grittier Batman. It's just, it keeps repeating over and over. And I saw a thing on that did the math on the rate at which we're getting a darker, grittier Batman, and how the years keep getting shorter. And it said that by 2050, there will be a new, darker, grittier Batman reboot every 15 milliseconds.
Very good. Because it is true. Like what Reeves did with this, which we'll talk about in a second once I hear your overall thoughts quickly, is that there is a trajectory towards Batman becoming more interwoven with the crime of the city, and that's kind of started, and Christopher Nolan did it really well, but this pushes that even more. I mean, you kind of get an impotent Batman here, if not a criminal Batman, an impotent kind of Batman who's completely intertwined with the criminality of the vigilante, of the politicians, of his father. Like there's a whole, so you ultimately get this vision of Gotham City that everybody's implicated.
Yeah.
Like this is a dark hole, black hole of crime and despair, and none of the main characters are exempt from it.
Yep.
And like Christopher Nolan was doing that to some extent, but this like just sticks the knife in.
Yeah. It sticks the knife in. That's a good way to put it.
So what was your, first of all, overall thoughts?
I haven't, I've seen it twice so far. I enjoyed it more the second time. All right. And I've also heard, by the way, if you're down at some point, we got to go see it in 4DX.
In the what?
4DX.
Oh yes, I would like that to be my first experience of 4DX. Yeah.
Because I've heard it's pretty hilarious. We've talked about 4DX on the podcast before. It's the most insane movie.
And I can't believe we've talked about how the first time he ever did it was with the movie Dune.
Yeah.
Which is so not the movie you'd think
Twice.
to go and see.
Yeah.
And you did it twice in the 4DX, right?
Yeah, that's 8DX. If you can count. It was. I enjoyed the movie very much. I will say the first go around, I was so excited and so pumped that I was almost, I did pee a lot before, and I didn't drink water. I tried very hard to like dehydrate myself basically because it was a 3-hour movie. It didn't work. I still had to pee at some point in it. And I hate that. And so, but I was so excited that I wasn't able to pay attention to what was actually happening because I was just like, Batman. I got Batman. And it was like the plot was, there's actually a plot in the movie. And it's not like whatever, not to throw shade. It's not like a Marvel movie where you could leave for 35 minutes and come back and kind of understand what's going on. It's got like a sort of mafia, real, it's a detective story basically. And so I was so excited I was unable to really appreciate or really even, to be honest, follow what was going on. Second time I saw it, I liked it a lot more because I was calmer and not so amped up. In terms of the movie as a whole, I gotta say, I was hoping for two things. We're gonna get spoilery here. One, I was hoping they would not have the cameo at the end.
Okay.
because I heard rumors that they were going to potentially include the cameo of Batman's most famous adversary.
But we won't say any more than that.
No. And you good luck figuring out
Yeah.
who I'm talking, because when you think Batman, you think Mr. Freeze. And so I was hoping that if they did include him, that they included more of him or none of him at all. And they did not do that. They went a different way. I liked the way they did it. I would have liked more. Finally, I was really hoping for a Court of Owls meta plot that would have been revealed in the end. That would have been cooler to me. Court of Owls is from, I believe, The Long Halloween, and which much of the Batman is based on. And The Long Halloween and the Court of Owls, I think, is one of the coolest ideas that ties back into the idea of the criminal underworld ultimately being a product of this elite, powerful group of people that runs everything in Gotham. And my hope, my dream scenario was that we were going to find out that Thomas Wayne, Bruce Wayne's father, was in the Court of Owls, and so that would further enmesh him in the crime, and make him further ambiguous as a moral character, which I thought would be cool. And they did not do that, and they kind of used the Riddler in sort of his personal story, which was fine, and it would have been too much to add Court of Owls and probably would have confused people. I think the way
you could have put another R on the movie easily.
Exactly. Yeah. Let's introduce this entire other organization and layer. But I loved Paul Dano. Thought he did a great job. His scene of them where there's glass separated and that's Batman versus the Riddler. That's a very different way of doing a ultimate crime boss battle in a superhero movie, where he is unable to hurt him and the other one is unable to hurt him, and you see this ambiguous scene where the Riddler is sort of saying Bruce Wayne over and over again, and you see the wheels turning in Batman's head of like, what is he saying? Is he aware, unaware? And they leave it a little open-ended, and I really love that.
Yeah, I want to talk about that scene as well. I think that's an important scene.
Also, Colin Farrell as the Penguin, I loved, and I think it's the best chase scene we've ever seen in a Batman movie.
Yeah.
And I also love the part where I didn't put it together till the second time I saw it, but when they captured at one point Penguin, thinking he's what is it, Rattlada? Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Rat with wings. Which
yeah.
that was like, that's Batman. Like obviously, a rat with wings, that's Batman. That's a bat. That's Batman.
Oh.
Like and no one ever said that. Like
until
way later.
Yeah. Well,
come on, like, it's right there for you. But anyway, in that scene, Colin Farrell just was so awesome in it. But then at the very end, when he's still tied up and he's like, "You guys gonna let me go?" He waddles like a penguin a little bit. I just was like, okay, I see. They're having fun with the things without making it too campy.
Yes. Yeah.
Or campy at all. Honestly, it could have used a little more camp, in my opinion.
Yeah. No,
Maybe one little neon light for Joel Schumacher or something as a piece of reference. Maybe, or a token. Maybe they should have had nipples on the Batsuit. If they had nipples on the Batsuit, it would be a perfect Batman movie.
Perfect Batman movie.
Yeah.
Well,
but all in all, I loved it.
Very good. Yes.
How many stars would you give it?
Out of how many? 5.
Let's say 5 bats. How many bats would you
bats,
give it?
Yeah. I mean, like I think it's a great movie for what it's doing. So I suppose I would give it 4 out of 5. I guess.
What would you give Dark Knight?
Oh, that was fantastic.
I know, right?
Maybe 4.5 out of 5.
I know.
Yeah.
Can I say one thing about Dark Knight before?
Yeah.
Okay, because I can talk about this.
No, yeah. I've got like 3 things that are more theoretical, so I'm excited. We should talk about this stuff first and then get onto the theory.
The opening scene of The Dark Knight is one of the best opening scenes in movie history.
Now you're gonna have to remind me because which one? How does it open?
It opens up, Pete. Imagine this.
Yeah.
Big, expansive shot, daylight. What? Batman? Daylight? Why? Zooms in on a building, okay?
Oh,
Nothing going
yeah.
on.
I know.
Window explodes. Then you
phenomenal.
see it's a bank heist.
Yeah.
You're thrown right into a bank heist, and then you see that it's Joker at the very end when he kills everybody. Come on. I mean, doesn't get better than that.
Yeah.
Opening scene of the Batman, pretty good.
Yeah.
Really cool. Creepy. Different direction. Liked it a lot. Doesn't have that same gut punch. Anyway, so all right, let's get into let's get into the stuff that the podcast talks about.
Okay. Well, here then this is an interesting thing that the new Batman movie does very well, because everybody knows, and it's been played on a lot, that Batman and the Joker are kind of inversely related to each other and connected to each other. That's a theme that I'm sure is in loads of the comic books, and it's in the Nolan movie, and it's done very well. This does it even better. This interconnects the Riddler and Batman in a very interesting way.
Yeah, like
Yeah. So basically, and because of spoilers and all of that, the Riddler we discover is directly inspired by the Batman and directly thinks he's working with the Batman.
oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's the cool. We've been
Yes.
doing this together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that was
God.
brilliantly done. That was brilliantly done. And here's the first point. Well, I suppose the first point I want to make, which is the simplest point, we've already said it, is this movie, probably more so even than Nolan, definitely more so than all the other ones. This is where I think the darker and grittier beam is right. In that, in this one, there's kind of 4 levels of criminality, right? There's the criminality on the street. You see the explosions of these kids who have rage, and it looks like they're inspired by the Joker. They've got the Joker stuff, and also by poverty. So they're doing graffiti, broke on the bank. So there's the explosion of street violence, the acting out of street violence. There's the violence of the organized criminals, organized crime. There's the violence of the institutions, the supposedly legal institutions, government, police, that.
It's like a Build Back Better program that it's not called Build Back Better, but it's like the same. It's redemption or something like that. What's the word that they're using?
I don't know. Yeah,
It's
I can't remember.
the politician is going, the program hasn't worked. Like you're programmed to make. There's a word that they
use, yeah, and
it's something is a lie, but yeah, it's
yeah.
like a revive. I don't know. It's not revive. It's a R word, I think. But yeah.
And a lot of these politicians you discover are working with the organized crime and all that. So there's criminality in the police system and the legal system, and then there's the criminality of the vigilantes, primarily the Batman and Joker, right? Or sorry, Riddler. So there's those 4 levels of violence, and they're all interconnected. Like you have a vision, you have a cinematic vision when you see this movie. You go, oh my goodness, all these levels of crime and criminality are all intertwined, and even Thomas Wayne. Even the Wayne family are connected to it through, Thomas Wayne either being kind of a weak character or a criminal character and that kind of stuff. So that's very good.
And they leave it open.
Yes, exactly.
Like
it's
Thomas,
open.
like Alfred going, I've racked my brain trying to figure out what went down and whether it was just maybe a street thug that killed your parents, or maybe it was Falcone who did it, like whatever. I think that was really well done.
Yeah, so it's left open, and that has never been done before, I don't think, in the movies where Thomas Wayne is even implicated directly. Like, the Wayne Industries is implicated, so there's always a connection between Wayne Industries, the wealth of Wayne Industries and the poverty of Gotham City. There's usually a connection between those, and there's a connection between Batman and the Joker. There's a connection there. This connects them all with the Riddler, and also Thomas Wayne is now directly implicated as either a weak man or just an elite guy who's trying to just, and potentially doing some criminal stuff. So that's amazing. It's all interconnected, and Bruce Wayne is connected. And then this brings me to the Riddler thing, is that both the Riddler and Batman are kind of doing their acts through the gaze of another. So the Riddler thinks that he's working with Batman. He thinks he's kind of like to rid the city of crime and criminality. Like the Riddler is like Dexter. The Riddler is a kind of as a criminal who only kills criminals. And he's a little bit more psycho than that, but that's kind of technically the idea. Is he's a serial killer who's actually just killing the elites who are doing criminal acts.
Yeah, like I love at one point when Gordon is worried about it being him as the next target, and Batman's like, "No, you're clean.
You're clean." Yes, this guy's only targeting the dirty. But what's interesting is, like, this is a very connected to the idea of desire. Is that we're often
Well, here we go. sorry.
Yes, it's a drinking game. He's mentioned desire.
If you have your bingo cards.
Yeah.
No, I want to hear this.
Oh,
I
yeah.
definitely do, and I was just.
I
had to fart that out.
The Riddler is kind of acting through the eyes of Batman, thinking he's working with Batman, that he's impressing Batman. And so in psychoanalysis, they call it subjective destitution, where in that scene you're talking about, with behind the glass, the Riddler still thinks that he's impressing Batman, that he's kind of working with Batman, that Batman is impressed with him. And then the Riddler goes through this subjective destitution where he suddenly realizes the Batman is not looking at him and being impressed by him and wanting to encourage him, that the Batman doesn't basically solidify or anchor his actions. And so he kind of goes a bit crazy. He starts to go a bit crazy. And
The one time he loses it.
one time he loses it because he's basically being confronted with
Well, it's not really,
Oh, did he lose it?
At the very end, yeah, and then he gets calmed down by the one person who I won't mention as a cameo
Yes.
at the end.
Which, by the way, I think
Joker.
Yeah, Joker, you did it.
Ah,
Yeah. Well, and I think that's interesting, where it's almost like the Riddler requires the gaze of another. So when he loses the gaze of Batman, then the Joker at the end is so he's going to be kind of in cahoots with him. But then the other thing is,
Oh yeah, because at the in that moment, which I do think what happens in that moment is really great, because you see the whole structure of the rogue gallery of Batman is that Joker's the king of the hen house or what, like he's the whatever. All of them know that they fall under him, and you see in a younger version of Batman, a young Joker already sort of going, no, you can come, I can comfort you, I can be your gaze that you can then act on behalf of, instead of Batman, and they form this immediate bond, and that makes total sense.
It's like a new father figure,
Yeah.
So, because that's in
New father figure.
Yeah. Because in Lacanian kind of analysis, the idea is like there is something when you realize that the person you're trying to impress, whether it's your father, your mother, your partner, you can't really fully impress them because they are a divided subject, and can be very disorienting.
They have their own crap.
They have their own crap. And what's amazing is, and again, this is the parallel between the Riddler and Batman, because there's so many parallels between them. They're both vigilantes. They're both trying to take out the criminality of Gotham, right? They're both, and then Bruce Wayne, his father, who is this figure, a paragon figure, is now seen as divided, is seen as impotent, so Bruce Wayne goes through his own subjective destitution. He realizes that his father is not the figure that he thought. So both the Riddler and Bruce Wayne kind of go through this very destabilizing experience.
Yeah. Oh, you're not who I thought you were.
Yeah. And this connects for me, one last thought on this, but they go for a real emo Bruce Wayne, Batman. And the idea sometimes is that we don't enjoy our enjoyment. Sometimes like the Batman he thinks he's doing all of this because he has to. He's trying to maybe impress his father or whatever. But he actually is enjoying it. He's just not able to realize he's enjoying it. He does enjoy beating up criminals. He just, he hasn't come to that realization. Once subjective destitution happens and he realizes he's not doing it for his father's a broken figure or whatever, you have a couple of choices. And one choice is you just embrace who you are, and you go, no, this is who I am. I want to fight crime, not because I'm trying to emulate my father's vision or this or that. I am just going to do this because I'm me.
I like fighting crime.
And that's what I think this whole movie is about. I think this movie is like an origin story of Batman, where Batman comes to realize that is to embrace his desire to fight crime, rather than put it onto, I'm trying to avenge my father, I'm trying to do this or that. He has to simply go, this is who I am, this is what I want.
When I the first time I saw the film, I saw it with my partner, fiance, Grace is her name.
Mm-hmm.
Spoiler, another spoiler-filled episode. And we were talking on the way home a little bit about why I like Batman, and in my answer, as a budding depth psychologist as I am, as well as being interested in, the underlying reasons people like or don't like certain things, I was like, because I like it, because Batman's cool.
Yep.
And I was like, that's it.
Yeah.
That I like Batman. I think he's cool.
Yeah.
And I've always have. There's nothing deeper than that.
Yes.
So, and I was like, don't do what I do. Don't come at me asking me questions about underlying motives in my liking of the Batman.
Yeah.
I was like, don't do that.
Uh,
I just like Batman.
yeah.
And I think that is mirrored in the character of Batman himself when he just goes, nah, I just kind of like beating
Yeah.
people up.
That's it.
Sometimes I just like to see a guy beat criminals up.
Yes.
And they don't have to be a big old Thor, Iron Man kind of guy. I like a guy who's just rich and decides to beat the crap out of people.
Well, that is like, that's kind of what subjective destitution means. It's almost like you realize.
No, it's objective destitution.
Objective destitution, yes.
Please.
Yeah. But it's like where you realize, you know, right? Because your desire is kind of given to you. And we talked about this in 2 episodes ago, I think, where we talked about that idea of das Ding or whatever. But, you know, you learn how to desire, you know, early on in your relationships with your family. But then you realize that's just a contingent thing that happened. And that's how how your desire functions as an adult is the result of a pile of contingent factors of people who themselves were broken, themselves didn't know anything.
Which is great.
And then what you can do.
What a gift from the Lord.
What's that?
What a gift from the Lord.
Yeah, it's kind of broken all the way down. But then what happens is you can orient yourself to your desire differently, which is to say, well, this is what I like. This is how I desire. There's certain ways that I desire, and it's all for contingent reasons. But I embrace that. So with Batman, it's good. Like the way he's the Batman because of contingent things that happen, a murder or death, you covering up a crime, all these contingent things that happened when he was a kid that made the Batman the Batman. And then he realizes, oh my goodness, this is all just contingent happenings of broken people, and my parents weren't my mum was mentally ill, my father was trying to cover that up. They kind of got involved with organized crime. All of these things happen, and this has made me who I am. What do I do with that? And then your choice is to embrace it and to say, this is who I am.
Your choice is to do whatever the crap you want to do. And in Bruce Wayne's case, I can understand being like, you know what I'm going to do?
Yeah.
The one thing that stops me from beating the crap out of people is the fact that they know who I am. I will remedy that in a goofy way. I'll put a big engine on the back of my Camaro, and I'm going to go have fun every night.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of sick and perverse.
Yeah. But you know what's funny, by the way, is that the character who succeeds is the Riddler, and the character he always feels is the Batman. And some movies have done this recently where
You
you
think
see
the Riddler succeed? How does
the Riddler basically succeeded in everything he wanted to do, bar a couple of things. So he didn't kill.
The Joker does say it. You got so close.
So close, yeah. I mean, he basically accomplished everything. He didn't kill, obviously, Bruce Wayne, but he killed everybody else he wanted to kill. He even set off all the explosions in the city, and he galvanized vigilantes. So he didn't fulfill absolutely everything, but he fulfilled almost everything he wanted to do. The Batman is just running around helping the Riddler.
He's truly on the. I mean, Batman even says it. He's like, it's Riddler's game now.
It's Riddler's game, and that man is actually part of the creation of the Riddler. So all the Batman did. This is why. I mean, I think, and I don't want to say this too much, but if you want to do there's a reading of this in which it's a very critical look at the Batman, which sometimes you go like, should a Batman movie really make the Batman look so crap? But he also looks really cool, so it does it very well. But when you think about it, the Batman is mostly impotent. He's the inspiration for the Riddler. He's mostly helping the Riddler out. But that's what I like about the movie. And it says is only at the end of the movie does the Batman realize that he's part of this entire thing, and he's able to maybe go, now I can become the Batman.
I agree with everything you're saying, except for the fact that the Batman is for sure not impotent. Bro, he's Batman. Besides that, I can get on board with everything you're saying. And yes, he is absolutely running around and chasing what everybody else is doing. But he is not impotent. He is a symbol of fear that strikes into the hearts of ne'er-do-wells. Final criticism of the movie, I wish they hadn't called it The Batman.
Oh, is that right?
It sounds like something your grandmother would say.
Is that right? I always liked calling the Batman. I would always call. So whenever I saw the movie,
now I do.
Yeah.
But I would have loved if they called it just Batman, because my other favorite Batman movie is called Batman, and I would have liked Batman 1989, Batman 2022, because I would like for younger generations to go, oh, what's this Batman 1989 about? And then go, oh, what's this Batman 2022 about? And then see the differences and similarities and skip over a lot of the stuff in between. And then they'll get into the Batman Begins and the Dark Knight.
Yeah. Well, by the way, here's an interesting thing about how it ends. I liked how he didn't call himself the Batman, first of all, right? He calls himself Vengeance, which I guess is a comic book thing. Is that a...
Yeah, I got kind of corny, though, a little bit.
Comic book, but I did like it because in one way, I think this is the origin story for... Like, I think the movie... In my reading of the movie is he kind of really becomes the Batman at the end. Because if you take the movie as a bad relationship, where you're in a bad relationship... and you actually realize, crap, I'm in a bad relationship, but I'm intertwined with it. And this bad relationship, even if it's not my fault, I'm still in it and I'm involved in it, right? So imagine it's that. And then at the end, you've got a choice. You can get out of the relationship or you can try and make it better, right? Which is what the choice at the end is. And Batwoman goes one way.
Yep.
She leaves the city. He goes the other way back into the city.
What am I talking about? You're already spoken for. Is what Catwoman
Oh yeah, that's
says.
right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's very good. So he basically, what I love about that is, I think the whole film is the failure of Batman. But the one thing that makes it kind of a Batman movie is it doesn't throw him under the bus completely, because at the end the Batman realizes that I am intertwined. As my family name's intertwined with this. I created the Riddler. All of that stuff. Now I can leave. I could actually leave at this point. I'm not under the shadow of my father anymore because I've gone through that subjective destitution. So I could escape, but then he goes, no, I'm going to own this. And now I want to be the Batman. And he goes, so he drives into the city. So for me, that's the beginning of the next movie can be where Batman is not impotent.
It's the classic, well, I'm here now.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
let's do this, I guess. If this is what my life is, okay.
Yeah.
And also anything in that moment could have happened because Nirvana was playing in the background, so it doesn't.
Oh yeah. So that was a nice
great.
choice.
In fact, I would argue that maybe we should see if there's some 4DX tickets available.
Ooh. Today for after this show. Oh no, it's too late now, is it? Or is it no?
I don't think it is.
Okay, well, yeah.
What are you on? What's your day looking like?
I'm pretty good. I got one phone call actually later on, maybe, but I could double check on that. I could maybe see what's happening there.
Sorry, I forgot.
Any final thoughts? Well, No Time to Die did a similar thing. When you look at No Time to Die...
Oh, really? You're bringing No Time to Die into...
Yeah.
I guess it kind of did. I see what you're talking about. Yeah. It was... Okay, go ahead. Yeah,
well, especially with the enemy. Like, no, I wouldn't mind. Maybe we should do a review next time of No Time to Die, because I'm a James Bond fan. So I've got a lot of things to say about No Time to Die.
Okay, all right. I can watch it again.
Yes, and a lot of things I'm not very happy with about it. But just bringing up the idea that actually you have an enemy who mostly accomplishes what they want to accomplish. Because in that, the criminal, is it Stefan or whatever his name is, he basically mostly accomplishes what he wants to accomplish until the end. And again, it's just like with Batman, I think it's clever, is that you think the good guy is you kind of almost predisposed to think Batman's doing good and the Riddler's like being foiled at every stage, and you go, oh my goodness, like he did everything. And in fact, even not killing Bruce Wayne, was a kind of success, because then he would have killed the Batman, which he wouldn't have wanted to do.
Oh, good point.
Yeah. So literally, all he didn't do was kill the politician at the end. They wanted, and that was a stupid. I didn't understand why the Riddler wanted to do that, because that politician was supposedly not corrupt.
Well, this is another aspect of the movie that definitely deserves more attention, which there was the sort of cult-like white supremacist following of Riddler at the end, where I didn't get the impression that they were specifically, that it was Riddler's wishes to have specifically that political opponent killed. In fact, my understanding would have been that she was already getting swept away into the helicopter kind of deal. Like she was trying, and it was her character that decided, no, I'm going to stay, which would have not, I don't think, fallen into Riddler's calculations. And then so when she came out, his followers were like, we're going to shoot now this woman. My hope would have been, did she die? Did she die?
No, just got injured.
Yeah, I feel like if they wanted to really go for it, they could have had that done. But I like the fact that she lived. I just was like, if they really wanted to go for it, they could have killed her. But I don't think it was Riddler's MO.
Yeah. Well,
To
I was
have her killed because she was the unknown factor that came back in. She forced her way back. On the stage.
Yeah, she forced her way back in. Yeah, no, that's a good point. But so then, because either, and I think this is where I maybe didn't catch something, is that final plan of the Riddler didn't overly make sense to me because, and I accept that they had to cinematically make the Riddler look even more evil, if you know what I mean. But the Riddler's whole mission was to kill only the guilty, only the people who were destroying Gotham, the ones who were, and mostly politicians, hypocrites, the people who were taking money off organized crime.
No more lies.
No more lies. So that was his whole thing. At the very end, it seemed like he was just unleashing a kind of, I suppose, a divine judgment on Gotham City, where random people would be shot.
Maybe. Yeah, I agree with everything you're saying because I think also I'm not a big fan. I always want to see it because I'm a viewer of a movie, but they have that requirement in the third act of any superhero movie where you got to have a big...
Yes, I know, and I feel that that's almost what they were doing.
Yeah.
Rather than if they'd ended it with, actually, I think the Riddler being this kind of weird Dexter, kind of like serial killer who kills, and maybe who did unleash some people in the city, but it did feel like they just needed a big grand finale, and then so therefore suddenly out of nowhere he wants to flood the city to bring basically innocent people into the middle of the city to get shot. That didn't make sense to me, except, as I say, unless the Riddler was going like, this is just divine retribution. Like, what's that? The group that trained the Batman. That was their job, wasn't it? They would like to bring divine
League of Shadows
kind of thing, but it didn't fit with who the Riddler was.
No, I agree. I mean, it felt like, I got to do something else because there's another half hour left of the movie.
You also had to have Batman having one win.
Yeah, Batman saving
Batman didn't
people.
have any wins anywhere through.
Even though that was also another part that I didn't totally love was like, there's at the very end, which it's gripping when you see it, but there's a moment where Batman is about to lose very badly and very brutally by one of the copycats of the Riddler, and Catwoman comes in and saves the day, which is cool. But I would have personally, being a fan of Batman, I would have loved to have seen Batman just, unleash hell on everyone and have this sort of triumphant moment. But I do understand, first of all, Matt Reeves, the director, wanted to make a self-contained Batman movie, and I think he did a great job. I would say that, Batman at this age and in the storyline of Batman, him being an incredibly young Batman is a weird thing to get used to. An incredibly young superhero who's still figuring things out is weird to get used to because we're so used to superheroes being fully formed now. And so I can pretty much forgive anything I didn't like about the movie.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, but this is the other reason I didn't mention this, but why I connected with No Time to Die is that both Bond and Batman, these two movies were written in such a way to kind of critique the character, the main character, but very subtly, because both these movies have very good, which is what makes them more dangerous to me, is there's a lot of these types of movies that are so ideological, but it's so obvious. These were very subtly ideological, but, James Bond, it was a similar thing, that he was mostly a pawn in it, who was being used by the baddie. So, he was going to be killed by Spectre, but this other guy had wanted to kill Spectre instead, and Bond was just kind of caught up mostly in the plan of the enemy. And, so you get Bond in a lot more of an impotent kind of state all the way through, up until obviously the what happens at the end.
First of all, he's not impotent, he's James Bond.
Yeah. Yeah, but very subtly.
I don't know why I think that's such a funny thing.
It's true.
First of all, you're talking about Batman and James Bond, so
I think we've got a title for this podcast. I think this episode. Yeah. First of all, he's not impotent.
Yes, Batman is not impotent.
Yeah. I said, but they did very subtly.
Yeah, I know.
And I get why they're doing it because of where Hollywood's at and all of that. But it was interesting how. Yes, I mean, it's going to be interesting where he goes with this Batman. I mean, they want to make another one, don't they, with this character, and they want to.
I'm sure they will, but I would, and I'm sure Matt Reeves had that in mind every moment he was working on the script. I don't believe all of the, we just wanted to make one single movie. No one
Mind
wants
you,
that.
it's hard for me to see where it would go. Like like it feels like a standalone movie. Like in that Batman, you know.
Well, if you want to know where it goes,
Yeah.
you have to tune into HBO Max, because the Penguin is going to have his own show, and it's going to be following directly after the events of the Batman.
Okay, that'll be interesting.
Which I kind of like too, when everything's destroyed and you just see him in his tower. Like, how do I take advantage of this?
Yeah. Okay, that could be interesting. Yeah, that'd be good. I mean, okay, so here's my thing. Here's my maybe takeaway on the Batman is I did really like it. And I'm even rethinking what I think as we're talking. Right, I've had two good conversations. This is my second good conversation about it, so I haven't talked about it much. I do have certain kind of critiques about how they kind of it almost feels like the only way to do a Bond film or a Batman film is to kind of implicate them in kind of like in the kind of the worst, into the horror that they're fighting.
Yeah.
But I kind of get why they're doing that. But it was done very well. It was done subtly. What we talked about last week, in terms of which I think will be up by the time people watch this, about conflict, about how we often are fighting something that we're implicated in. So the Batman movie beautifully does that. But I would love to see if in the next movie, yes, now that Batman's had his subjective destitution, now that Batman has had to just embrace who he is, has seen the horror and how he's invested in this and how he partly created the Riddler, all of that, that we might just get a movie where then the Batman is not impotent, that the Batman kind of does something actually positive for the city of Gotham. That would be great to see. But I don't know if we'll see that.
First of all, Batman is not impotent. Okay, so I want to clarify that for our listeners. I think that is, I just want to make sure that's clear. No, I agree with what you're saying. I would like to see if they do a sequel. I'm sure they're going to do a sequel. It's made like $500 million or something already. But,
yeah, that's pretty good.
I would like to see a jump forward in time a little bit to adult, substantial Batman.
Yeah.
The time has been served in whatever, Arkham Asylum. There's an unleashing that happens, something that shows he's aged with time and all that stuff. I will say, in terms of the Batman final takeaway, I would argue, when I walked out of it, my first thought was that is the first actual Batman movie I've ever seen. It is really about Batman, for good or worse, impotent, non-impotent. It is the most Batman-y Batman movie that's ever existed, and so for that reason, I highly recommend it.
That's true. Yeah,
but of course, I'm going to highly recommend it. It could have been horrible. I could be totally wrong. I would still recommend it because my taste is not good, but I like it.
Yeah, I like that takeaway. The next movie can also have a happier Batman. Like, I did like the fact that he was denying his pleasure, which is another interesting idea. It's like he's all mopey, but he actually is. He dresses up in a basically a rubber outfit and beats up people.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a pleasure in that. He we all know that. Am I weird? Is that
Pete's oversharing? Oversharing.
Yeah. Okay. Let's. Can we cut that out? Just cut that out. But he doesn't enjoy his enjoyment. So by the next movie, you can have the Playboy Batman who's actually enjoying his wealth, being the Playboy out there, and then at night beating up the criminals.
Yeah.
So you could still have a shit Batman, but now the shit Batman is he's kind of not realizing. This is what I would do if I was a director. The next film would be that him as the Playboy, him as kind of making a lot of money, but then using the money to fund his crime fighting thing. But then the insight at the end of the film is, oh yes, this is actually me just kind of exercising my jouissance, my pleasure. This is not helping Gotham either. Like, I'm beating up all these criminals, all these people, but actually maybe the very fact of Wayne Industries being so wealthy is what's causing Gotham City to be so bad. So therefore you can then have that insight, and then in the third movie you can have him doing actual good. But that's more Nolan type of structure.
Yeah. I don't know about I would like to see the Playboy version. This is the only Batman movie where he has not appeared in a tuxedo and has gone to a gala.
Oh, no way.
Yeah,
That's
he's
nice.
in every other Batman movie. He is being fancy. He's doing some kind of thing, and this one they can't get him out of the house. It's very fun.
Yeah, yeah. No, I thought it was good. You know, it's a young Batman, pre-Batman, like not the Playboy
Yeah,
guy.
he's a
but
teenager. He's a
yes.
no, Mom, you don't understand.
And that allows it to go to the next stage where he literally embraces it all.
Yeah.
Which would be fun. But then also there's an impotence to that, and that's why the dialectic always is in threes. So he goes from the antithesis or the thesis to the antithesis, and then the last movie can be where he actually transforms Gotham City.
Love it.
If you'd like to employ me as a writer, my fees are, reasonable. Well, they're not reasonable, but
Well, they're reasonable. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to this. And if you would like to see some bonus episodes, we're going to be uploading one on Joe Rogan soon on the Patreon.
oh yes, so that's a Patreon only.
Yep. Patreon.com/ it is.
Yeah.
It's past now.
Hmm?
We have enough in the can that it's past. And if people want it, they can go to patreon.com.
Oh yes.
/ the fundamental. Right? Because
Yeah.
it's a good Patreon episode.
You're thinking we shouldn't put it up on Patreon? You were the one who said
I'm saying
it.
yes on Patreon.
Oh yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Oh
Okay,
yeah,
great.
yeah. Oh yeah.
All right. Well, you don't forget, we're the shadows or whatever.